So, as you guys know, AI has obviously been huge, and I think as creators, we will continue to see its effects in our industry in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But I think the biggest player when it comes to how AI will actually shape our country, our world, our whole interface is Apple. And regardless of how you feel about Apple, if you're team Apple, your team Android, there's no denying the fact that when Apple steps foot into a space, that space gets changed for the better or for the worse, one way or another. Whether you're looking at, VR and with the Apple Vision Pro, like, yes, they absolutely changed the way that people looked at VR. They were like, wow, you can charge $3,000. And the answer was, no, you can't. See, Apple changed it. So we learned that. But we also learned that Apple really decided to spend a lot of time on Apple Intelligence. And we are starting to get the first beta test, the first beta runs of Apple Intelligence out now. Now, they currently are releasing these things in waves. And Apple actually mentioned this up front that these things will get released in waves, which I think is kind of smart because, it doesn't overrun anybody's system and they can make sure that the AI is actually functioning properly because nothing I think would be worse than bad AI. You think AI is tough, bad AI I think would be a nightmare. So they currently have 6 tools that have been released. And I think I have 5 of them up there. So I just realized I missed one. All right. So the tools we have up there are the writing tool, the intelligent, powered by Siri, or AI intelligence is going to be powering up Siri, powering up Mail, your natural language search within photos, and then call recording. And I'm not sure what the 6th one is. I can't remember it. So
Just make it up.
no, I'm not gonna make it up. But with Apple introducing all these new AI tools and starting to get into the hands of others, I quickly wanted to sort of like touch base on with Apple introducing AI. And chat, let us know what you guys' thoughts are on this. What are some of the AI tools that you currently are excited to see just be brought to everyday use? Because although, yes, a lot of, creators, and I'm seeing it very much so in the chat, that, there is a little bit of a wonder of like how AI is going to affect us when it comes to being creators. I don't think there's going to be any way that we don't implement AI in some form in our lives. Like whether you want to admit it or not, and Apple has already said, like, oh, we've been using machine learning, which is what they called it, for years.
Yeah.
It's how they do predictive text. It's how they know when you're about to drive somewhere, like, oh, we looked at your calendar, we know where you're supposed to go. Here's the directions, here's how long it's gonna take you to get there. Like that's using a form of AI.
Yeah.
So there's no way we're not gonna have AI. But like as creators, where do we draw the line and say, we like this kind of AI in our life. We don't want this AI to affect our businesses, our life, our creative livelihood. But like, how do you draw that line when it's like, it's almost like as broad as the internet? It's like saying, oh, I like using the internet to chat with my friends, but I don't like that people use the internet for misinformation. You can't just say the internet is bad because technically it's not. So it's like, where do we start to find that gray line? Because I'm not even going to call it a line. I'll call it a gray line. Where do we find that spectrum as creators?
Super unpopular opinion.
Uh-oh.
Super unpopular.
Okay.
We need to embrace it.
All of it.
All of it.
You think we embrace every part of AI? We don't push back whatsoever.
Now, what I'm going to say in that is it's going to sound like I'm saying do everything all the time. And I'm not saying do everything all the time. But what I'm saying, as a project calls for it, like right now, if you were to say to me, we need to film a dragon busting through this wall as kind of like a VFX sort of deal, better believe I'm going to use AI if that's what the client calls for, or if that's what the creative vision calls for. I wouldn't have a way or the budget to make a dragon bust through this wall. But somewhat easily, we can make that happen through AI. And so for me, as an unpopular opinion, things are only going to continue to be more required of us as content creators, filmmakers, that sort of stuff. And the last thing that I'm going to tell someone to do is keep riding that horse. Don't get a car.
Yeah.
Cars are going to ruin everything. No, I'm going to tell you to get a car. I'm going to tell you to use AI. Not for everything and not all the time, but in the right moment. There shouldn't be any tool that you refuse to use to bring your business forward, to make more money, to implement your creative vision. Now, if you choose not to, that's fine. But don't be willing just to be like, I don't use that. I feel like
Sounds
that's
like
kind of silly.
it's like old man get off my lawn sound.
Yes.
Well, I will say, so ironically, I've been like kind of like, I wonder how the industry is gonna, approach this, and are they gonna be vocal about it? Because that's the other thing. I am convinced that, like, especially because most of these companies that create the things that we enjoy to consume, your networks, your movie theaters, or your studios and stuff like that, it's a bottom line for them. It's just a money thing. And it's like, are they going to admit that they're using AI? Are they not going to admit they're using AI? And we saw it and we reported on it back when Toys R Us,
Toys R Us.
sorry, when Toys R Us made their commercial almost completely out of AI, but they used some CG work to sort of like work it in, right? I was watching Complex just did a shoot with Eminem,
Mm-hmm.
and he just had his new album come out. I'm a huge hip hop fan, so I follow all that news, guys. And so Eminem's new album comes out. I love it, by the way. And they were doing a photo shoot with him, and it was him, and they had a body double
Mm.
to play Slim Shady.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching the entire thing, and they're taking all these photos and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, we're going to have to. I'm like, I'm watching it with the body double, and I'm like, okay, Slim Shady is clean shaven, so there's no beard. Like, are they going to do a face swap? Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to go grab old photos? And they say in the interview, we're using AI to do a face swap on the body double to make it basically be two M&Ms.
Mm-hmm.
And like they very publicly on the Complex video, you can go watch it right now on Complex, and they openly say we're using AI as a tool. And I think, obviously that's using AI in a very creative manner. Obviously, if it wasn't AI doing it, in the past, they would have had to find a Photoshop wizard, a Photoshop, someone who knew how to do that, whether in Photoshop or whatever. And granted, this is photography, so it may be a little easier than video. But no, they just come right out and say, no, we're using AI to do this. And it makes me start thinking, like, as a creator, like, oh, okay, we're already seeing this being happening on like big stages. And I look at Complex as a pretty reputable
Oh yeah.
brand, and they put out so much content. I mean, across all their different, like, they have multiple levels of content that they do and multiple channels and all these different things. And so when I look at all of that, I'm like, man, they're already implementing AI. It is tough, like you say, like, yes, there is this part of you that says, oh, I want to be a purist and say, be a creator, be a purist, but like the AI is already kind of getting implemented everywhere, whether people are talking about it publicly or they're not talking about it publicly. People are using it. We use it and we talk publicly about it. We're not ashamed to say, like, we use AI in our businesses. But I think if you're going to compete or you're going to create the best work possible, I don't think, like in the past you could say, oh, that's really difficult to do, or oh, that's a little out of scope, out of business, or I don't know if we can do that, because there's so many AI tools out there and they're all competing. To the comment that came out, the race to the bottom, I think the companies are racing to the bottom because I mean you can do so much with AI right now for free. And so it's like, yeah, you almost have no excuse not to use it if it's going to help you to produce a better piece of work. I just worry, as we continue to move in this space, where do we get original pieces of work from? Because if everybody's using AI and AI is just like a loop in and of itself, if it's learning from artists, but the artists are using AI that's using content it was already learned from, I think we get into a very dangerous cycle of, yeah, eventually everything's going to look the same because it's basically getting trained on itself.
Yeah, I think something that's going to be really important with this whole AI revolution is if you don't like it, we're not saying you have to use it. We're just saying if you want to be competitive, use it. But I think that when it comes to personal artistry, we still have to create things that have nothing to do with AI. Like when I think about the photos that I hang up on my wall that I print out, I I Photoshop them just a little. Little trash can, little person, little car. That sort of deal. Landscape stuff. So even that's been manipulated. But when I think about that, I'm not generating in trees. I'm not generating in clouds. I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but I haven't up to this point. But what I am saying is I do think that it is so important to continue to create original content, like so that we don't lose our souls. But when we're talking business, y'all can do what y'all want to do, but I'm using AI.
All right. So when we talked about that earlier, we did talk a little bit about like the AI implementing itself. And as we kind of move into like this next story here, it feels like and this is at least my thoughts about it, and we'll keep this one brief, but like I feel like to kind of go back to what we were saying earlier, phones implementing AI might be the best use case of this. Now, granted, we're already seeing some of it being brought over into computers, but I believe in order to see something to wildly get it better, it needs pretty mass adoption. So that way the AI can actually learn and grow, right? And I think with Apple putting Apple Intelligence, their version of AI, in their phones, we are going to get to a place to where that AI is going to exponentially get better. Now, how much Apple's going to let that data share? I don't know yet. They say privacy is their number one concern, right? So we'll see. But I do think that when you start getting Apple Intelligence or AI into the hands of everybody, you're going to see the AI drastically improve, and the quality of the AI will get better, and what it can do for you will absolutely get better. And the more it learns you, like Apple says, the personal side of it, that's what's going to be the big deal. I wonder, like, because this is my thought. Like right now, there's tons of different AI tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
And each AI tool is really good. Like the best AI tools that I have found are really good at doing one thing. Like there's an AI tool that I use that's really good at YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's another AI tool, ChatGPT, that I use that's great at writing. When I asked it to make me an image, it didn't do too great, right? But then you have one like Midjourney where that's all it does is make images, and it's really good at doing that thing. And so right now, all the AI tools are really good at doing one thing. What I'm very interested to see, and it may be Apple who does it, but somebody who allows you as an individual to create your own AI. And then it can train itself off of all these other AI models. So instead of you having to go like find all these different AI models
So
to use.
Skynet.
Is that Skynet? Is that Skynet?
No, I don't.
But what I'm saying is, I feel like that's kind of our next step when it comes to AI, is you having a personalized AI. Now, not the ones that these, the creators are using to like let you talk to Mr. Beast or something like that. I don't want.
What was the AI from Westworld that took over the world?
Oh, I don't remember what it was called, but yeah.
That.
That's what we're
That's
looking
what
at.
you want.
Well, it's starting in the game. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I watched Westworld and I was like, oh, that looks like a fun vacation. And then I kept watching it and I was like, oh no. That gets bad fast.